Hey, gang. Welcome to another CirdecSongs conversation or chat, however you want to look at it. Interview is too formal. As always, I ask you to like this here video and subscribe and make me look good to the great YouTube algorithm, especially for today's guest, who I first saw in 2017. God, I'm old. At,
2017.
2017
Wow.
at Progtoberfest in Chicago before I moved up here.
Oh, that's where you first saw us?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's it. That's it. You have a wonderful band called Schooltree, and we have LAINEY Schooltree with us. And I have been wanting to have this conversation for quite some time. She's coming to us from her captain's chair.
Yep, the cat just came in and started screaming. Just right in time. I think she heard the countdown. She was like, it's time for me to be disruptive.
Well, you got to have a backup singer. That's just the way it goes. But, so the cat's your first officer, I'm guessing, for this particular.
Yes, number one.
That's, we have to get into Star Trek later on, too, because that's always fun.
Yes.
But I should ask you how you're doing today. That would be polite of me.
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
I have no major complaints. I want to complain about the heat, but a lot of people have gone through a lot more for a lot longer. So I'm just going to keep that one to myself. And best of all, I'm not dealing with my past life where I'd have to wear body armor in this in this heat. And
oh my
body
God.
armor ain't breathable.
Not breathable. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine.
Not at all. So, and I also left out that you're a. Can I call you a Twitcher? Is that what they call themselves now?
Streamer? I've never heard someone referred to as a Twitcher, but
I'm trying to start a trend here. We could hashtag this.
You might. It's catchy.
And it's a show I really enjoy. But before we get to that, tell us about yourself. Tell us the story of your life and what led you to music. You can give me Reader's Digest.
Can we be a little more? Can we narrow it down a little bit?
Can I narrow it down?
I was born. It was a stormy day.
We can fast forward to the part where you first discovered music. That's fine. You were born at a young age. We understand.
I was born very young.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might even say I had no age when I was born.
That's possible. That is very possible.
I mean, I wasn't really there, so I don't know.
And then, voila, you were.
And now I'm a Twitch streamer. Life story.
Summed up nicely. I'll help you out. When I was 6 years old, I heard David Bowie for the first time. I mean, my parents are Motown, Stax, Philly International, the soul sounds. But my mom, I'm sure I got it from my mom because we're both outsiders in our own way. God rest her soul. We're both we like to see what else is out there. And I used to borrow her 45 RPM records, and I'm 6. Okay, I should be listening to the Jackson or listening to books about the gingerbread man and what have you, and I'm listening to the Jackson 5 and what have you. And one day she snuck, I'm going to say she snuck because my dad would do it, a copy of David Bowie's Space Oddity into my stack of records. That whole story is available in my book, by the way, shameless plug for the rest of you out there. And that was the beginning. Suddenly I was into music. And when I was 18, I was introduced to King Crimson, and you and I aren't having that conversation if I wasn't introduced to Crimson in '85. So give me a story similar to that. Let's go from there.
Yeah, the first time I heard King Crimson, I was like, "Whoa! I didn't know it could be like this." It blew me away. Yeah, I mean, I always kind of had strong feelings about music. Apparently, I was a toddler sitting in the backseat of my mom's car, like crying, asking her to change the station. The song was too sad. And so that earned me the nickname of Music Nazi in my family.
Oh, always an important title to have.
I know. And we have survivors in the family, so it's serious.
Yeah. This is a thing, no. I guess.
But yeah, so music, strong opinions is definitely like, I always knew what I didn't like. And yeah, I just always played music. We inherited my grandmother's piano when I was 6, and I just started messing around with it, playing it, and I don't know, music was just always there. Yeah.
And
then I got into progressive rock much later.
Yeah. Well, you got to start with the basics. Were there lessons involved, or?
I did take some lessons. Yeah. I didn't really like them. I would like practice the exercises, but I would always just end up writing stuff. I would be like, this would sound cooler if it went here instead. So I would have all this like music I had written when I came to lessons, but maybe I practiced, maybe I didn't. So I just did a lot of freeform, just playing, exploring on my own, and then I started studying voice when I was a teenager privately. And I did study, classically with voice, and then that's what I ended up going to school for. That was my principal in school. I have a music degree and a political science degree, which so useful. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. No, but but the music degree is useful.
Yeah, well, hey.
So yeah, I studied composition, and voice was my principal instrument. And I played piano, and I used piano to write, but I wasn't considered a very good player by mean professor. So yeah.
So but your focus was more on composition than Mozart or something along those lines.
Yeah. I was interested in creating, making music.
Fair enough. What's the first song you remember loving?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean,
because I don't want to dwell on the negative of what you didn't like. Let's focus on what you.
Actually, one of the earliest songs I remember really loving was "Yellow Brick Road."
Okay. As in Elton John.
Elton John, yeah. Is it called? I think it's called "Yellow Brick Road."
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Yeah,
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I knew I was forgetting the word.
It's an amazing record. It's part of that great musical renaissance of 1973. That was
yeah.
just a remarkable record. What caught your attention?
There's that vocal part. I was like, wow. There's something about it just felt like weirdly familiar. Actually, I was just sort of like, when I was young, I remember getting this feeling a lot where music just felt like I had heard it before. When I was hearing it the first time, like certain songs, it was just sort of like it would touch something that was like, oh, this feels like recognizable to my soul somehow.
Yeah.
So I remember that song really, like, I didn't know what it was about. I didn't even really like take note of the lyrics. I don't think I was just sort of like hearing something in the language of the music that really spoke to me.
I always say it resonates with you, or say it was a few years ago. It either resonates with you or it doesn't. So it really doesn't matter where it comes from. I'm one of those people where I really don't want to believe in genres. I don't like them because it limits people's thinking. But because they immediately say something, oh, I don't like that. Well, you haven't heard it yet. How do you know that you haven't that you won't like that at all?
I hear you.
So you swept through the teen years. You're playing along, and I have to know when you were introduced to King Crimson, because we have that in common.
Yeah, it wasn't until I was in my early 20s, I think, when I was writing a lot of music at that time. I was kind of getting into writing rock music, but I was writing these sort of art songs on the piano. And somebody was like, you're writing progressive rock. And I was like, progressive rock? Isn't that like that's not really like, that's not for me. And then he burned me a few CDs, and it was Yes. There were 3 Yes albums, and Court of the Crimson King. And I was just like, it changed my life. When I heard Court of the Crimson King, like, front to back, it just blew me away. I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go with my music. And it was like that sort of 70s era prog rock in particular that really felt like something I wanted to explore and, make my own modern-ish version of.
Right. And you said you're a composer, so that kind of music definitely appeals to composers. I mean, you get to play with odd time signatures. You get to write multi-part tunes and what have you. I was just listening to Heterotopia a little while ago, and it's been far too long since I pulled that one off the shelf. And it just as soon as you start, I'm like, yeah, she's progressive rock, because it's that's an adventurous bit of music that you wrote there. In fact, I'm pretty sure you guys were promoting that when you came to Progtoberfest.
Yeah, we released it in 2017. That was a big year for us.
Nice. you're the primary composer. I'm assuming. Did anybody else contribute pieces or?
It was just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote and arranged it, and then when we were in the studio, we kind of, we worked out some things. There were some parts that, we worked on the arrangements together with some of the musicians, and my co-producer had some ideas to sort of alter the arrangements, I guess. We kind of worked together on it, but I, walked in with an arranged piece.
Makes sense. Makes sense because you hear. Well, I'm guessing you're one of those people that hears what you want in your head before you even get into the studio. This is what I need you to play.
No, not in my head, actually. So, yeah, I think like writing the music was a process. It was sort of like throwing a lot of stuff at the wall. And then what I would do for the band was like demo everything out. So I would either play or sequence the instruments and hand them like a track and be like, this is, the beginning of the sound I want to have. And of course it's all like electronic when you're demoing on your own. So it wasn't exactly the sound yet, but it was like, at least they heard how everything is supposed to fit together. So, but in my head, I'm not necessarily hearing it. I'm sort of like exploring sounds and like finding sounds I like and piecing them together. And sort of as you piece them together, you start to see shapes or hear shapes or whatever. And then you shape it more and shaping it on different levels and turns into a song, turns into a record, turns into a concept album.
And quite a concept album it was. But, are there aha moments for you, or does everything just kind of flow and this is what I want to do? Is there a moment where time stands still?
Oh yeah, there's definitely like, I think I know what you mean. Like there's definitely moments where it's like, this is not working, this is hard, and I don't know what the solution is, and you have to keep coming back and trying different things. And, sometimes that process takes way longer than you'd like it to. And then there is that moment where you're like, oh, this is the solution. And those are some of my favorite moments. 'Cause like, finally get over the hump or through the wall or whatever metaphor you like.
Those are fun moments. I mean, I've even had a couple of those myself during my, well, we're not going to go down that path right now, where you just kind of hear that kind of thing. I gave my bandmates a lot more latitude than I probably should have, because it's good news, bad news for me, because it'll alter what I was hearing in my head, but at the same time, sometimes the alteration is better. But maybe it's just an ego thing for me. I don't know what it is, but it seems to me if you write the part out, then everything just kind of flows from there.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I think my rule was always play my parts, and if you come up with something better, we'll do that. That's
fair. Tell us about Heterotopia, because that's like I said, it's an epic. It's 98 minutes. That's plenty ambitious. What's the concept behind that?
Yeah, so it's, I mean, the elevator pitch is that it's about a girl who loses her body and has to journey through this world of the collective unconscious to get it back. But it's not that simple, of course. So she's traveling through this liminal space called other space as a ghost. But she's sort of having encounters with her body that's still, somehow moving like a zombie, and it's referred to as a zombie. And she has like conflict with it, and has to find a way to rejoin or so
whichever she decides. I like it. That's such a fitting concept and I can't get enough of your background right now. I need something like that just to sit in the in the captain's chair.
Oh, the captain's chair. Yes, I'm on my ship, the Galaxy Friend. I use this to travel the cosmos on Monday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
That's right. I was just about to dance into that, because like we're conversing. These things go all over the place. I know how, because I saw your Facebook post about your Twitch channel, and it's remarkable to me because you spend most of your time improvising. No.
Now I do. It's like, it's the complete opposite of what my life was before the pandemic. Complete opposite. I did not improvise in front of people. And I would have cringed at the idea of it.
Well, now I have.
I mean, I still cringe, but what?
But it works. I mean, you have you have a nice little bit of banter going, and you're answering questions and what have you. And I'll tell you a little secret. First of all, I found it amusing that you were when you announced me on the air once, you referred to me as somebody you met in you knew in real life, and I'm like, we talked for like 17 seconds at,
Well, that's real.
Progtoberfest.
That's more real life than most of the people I interact with on Twitch. They're in other parts of the world, and I've never met them, and I may never meet them in person.
Right, right. And
so having a real world,
yeah,
ahead.
those encounters are a plus. But I'll let you know a little secret. I was a little intimidated when I talked to you the first time. There was just you had an aura. I think I can't put it into words. I'm like, oh, she doesn't want to talk to me. Why would I even?
I get that a lot, actually. It's funny. Yeah, people seem to think that sometimes. And that when I started streaming, people were like, "Oh, you're actually like very down to earth and approachable." I was like, "No, I'm in space."
That's right. And nobody approaches me in space.
Don't approach me. That's my rule. No, but
but it works. It works out nicely, and I give credit to anybody who can just sit there and, like I said, you're bantering with people who are leaving you messages, and yet you've still got it in your head to improvise these pieces. Is this part of something you want to do in the future, or is it just literally right there in the moment?
I mean, it's both, I guess. Like it's very in the moment. It's a very flow state thing, and I'm still sort of, refining the process. I think when I first started doing it, it wasn't as good as it is now, and I hope as I continue to do it, it'll get better. But yeah, I mean, it's very interactive. So having people chatting with me while I'm doing the show is like essential to the show. And it's part of what guides the show. We talk about things, we joke around, we have some like running jokes and stuff that that come back again and again, and usually whatever we're talking about will make it into the song. So I'm usually messing around. I have a couple of synthesizers, and I use Ableton Push. I have some effects programmed, and I have drums programmed and stuff. So I have like a bass synth, a more like ambient and chord synth, I guess, and just sort of create different songs, mess around with sounds, and sometimes people can request a song topic, or we'll be talking about something and it'll just wind up in the song. So yeah, go ahead.
I said you do a lot of layering too while you're at it, which fascinates me even more. I mean, so that's I'm impressed. That's all I'm trying to say. That and to do
Thank you. Yeah, the writing itself is a performance, which is not, it's sort of, I was very like sequestered in my writing process before I started streaming. Very like, don't look at me and you can't hear it till it's done. People will only hear finished, polished, as close to perfect as I can get it on this earth material. And I've joked around that now that I'm a streamer, I'm an imperfectionist, because I've really had to embrace the fact that like there's going to be a lot of stuff every show that would make me cringe in the before times. I'd be like, oh God, intonation issues, a bad note, a music choice that was like, oh, that was kind of mediocre choice of you. Like people saw you do that. I have to turn all that stuff off and just be like, it's a live show. It's improvisational. You're sort of, it's not about perfection. It's about an experience. It's about giving people an experience. And I think they're fun to watch after the fact, but I think the live experience is really like, it gives anybody watching the opportunity to be a part of it if they want to. And it's sort of like a concert experience in that like, anything can happen. Awesome moments can happen. Terrible moments can happen, So there's a lot of promise and possibility and a lot of imperfection.
But that's okay. What do they say in jazz? Sometimes it's not a bad note unless you acknowledge that it's a bad note.
Yeah. Never apologize for your bad notes.
Yep,
absolutely.
Makes sense. What led you to stream in the first place?
Yeah, I guess it was, part of it was, COVID And at first, I held out for the first year. I was like massively depressed. I feel like probably many of us were, and disillusioned. And I felt I had lost everything. Venues were closing. It just felt kind of like maybe music will never be the same. And in my heart, it felt like music would never be the same. And I was just like, I don't have the will to live stream. A lot of my friends adapted and immediately started streaming. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't care about any of this. And then I saw Ben Levin's show. Ben Levin, formerly of Bentley.
Yes, my favorites.
Yeah. What a guy. Can't say enough good things about Ben and
his
Twitch stream.
I always have to say, we're both from St. Louis, too, by the way, which is...
Oh,
which is
nice. You're practically brothers.
That's what
you might be related.
That's what I told him. So you watched his stream, and what did you get from that?
Yeah, it was just it was so different from anything I'd seen, because he was doing, not what I do isn't really that similar to what he does, but on paper the components are similar in that he was improvising, he was sort of leading a community, hanging out with people, talking about things, and then just sort of bringing music in this really organic way, and it felt like a performance, but it also felt very natural. Like, it's not a performance in that, like, he's the performer, you're the audience, and never the twain shall meet. It's like, it's more modern and blurry, and it was really interesting. And I just loved his style and his personal style and his music, and just like, everything about what he did was like, it just sort of lit me up creatively. And I was just like, maybe I could do this. And so I took like a couple of months, I think it was 2 or 3 months of like learning about, just the basics of broadcasting a live stream, doing it on Twitch, learning about Twitch culture, hanging out in streams, kind of getting to know just how it works, because it is its own culture very much. And then starting up. And when I first went live, I was like, maybe this is the one and only time I'll do this. I don't know. I didn't want to commit or like dream about anything, because honestly, at the time I was feeling so dead inside, I didn't want to dream at all anyway. So, but then, the first time I went live, it was totally awkward. But it felt like something I wanted to keep doing, and I kept doing it, and it became its own thing, and it grew from there.
Was there an aha moment for the stream, or did you just gotta keep going forward?
I mean, yeah, there are always aha moments, because I feel like the aha moment is always preceded by the like despair, the difficulty, the challenge, where you're like, ugh, this feels like an unsolvable problem, or this is a thing that's annoying me and I don't know how to fix it. And then then you do know how to fix it.
How much, if any, are the improvs informing your overall writing process for the future?
I don't really know. I mean, it's weird, but I am very like in the moment these days with my writing, and most of it happens in front of people. I don't really do a lot of writing off stream right now. And it's not that I never will, but I don't really feel driven to at the moment. So it's sort of like, learning how to write as part of a performance is sort of it's a very different and interesting skill set, where you're like, you're adding things in and you're layering things in a way that you want to be interesting, the same way I would be thinking about it when I'm like, recording a demo or something, where I'm like, great, it's going to be like every like so many measures, something in my head is like, it's time to change this up. It's time to add or subtract something. It's time to, change textures and vary them. And I think like, in terms of being able to write something quickly, like I could definitely do that now. I mean, I write, probably 4 or 5 songs per stream. So it would be easy for me to just sit down and write something at any moment, probably. It wouldn't necessarily be great, but I could do it.
This is where I get myself in trouble. There's not nearly enough, in my personal opinion, there's not nearly enough feminine presence in progressive rock. Have you, do you feel like you stick out at all, or have you found a cadre of like-minded souls, or how do you feel where's your place in the community? Is ultimately what I'm asking.
I mean, that's kind of for the community to answer, I guess. I think like, I don't know. The people who like me really like me. And there's always people who are like, that's not real prog, or despite how adventurous a genre it is, it certainly has its proponents of conventions, let's say, strong proponents who are a little gatekeepery about it all.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, the irony being that progressive rock contains some of the least progressive people you'll ever
very much so.
You'll ever
but
meet.
Like having been a woman, at least in terms of how I present myself in the world, in not just in progressive rock but in anything, it has its it has its difficulties, and it has its having worked in comedy for years. That's a boys club, especially back when I was doing it. It was even worse. And just like rock music in general, also kind of a boys club depending on what scene you're in, but definitely a lot of like, it's a little bit more of a struggle for you. Something I'm sure you can understand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not exactly a majority figure in progressive rock either. So
no, certainly not.
My friend Andre and I are eventually going to do a little conversation called, what are you doing here? Basically. So I've had fun. I have to admit, I've had fun embarrassing a couple of people, like at Crimson shows, who figure I'm just a novelty, and I start rattling off the knowledge I have, and it's 10 times what they have. And
nice.
just
put them in their place.
Yeah. Even happened before a Les Claypool show where I was down. I get to shows stupid early, just ridiculously early. I'm always like one of the first 10 through the door, and of course, every time I'm next to the door for a more progressive show, they assume I'm the security guy.
Oh God!
And I'm like, no, I'm here for the gig. And one guy, and I give him points because he was only like 25, 26 years old. He couldn't believe I was into Les Claypool, and he knew like Primus, and I started rattling off all of Les's other projects and what have you. And so he kind of stood there with a little egg on his face, but he bought me a beer, so I give him points.
Something.
He bought me a beer before he just kind of disappeared with his friends. So it's just
that's
one of those
something,
things.
I guess. But yeah, that's one of the most remarkable things, is when people are super surprised that you're knowledgeable, or that you're sort of self-confident, self-assured. I definitely have had that experience of people being like, oh, you're good at this, or you're good at what you do, or you're
Yeah. Do you have some of the musicians you admire from progressive rock acknowledged you?
Acknowledge me?
Yeah.
No, I sort of, probably doomed to toil in obscurity for, multiple reasons. I'm not really, yeah, I'm not very well connected. And I'm not much of a social climber. Like all of my relationships are sort of just authentic, natural, organic. I can't really I'm not great at forming relationships for career strategy or advantage, which seems to be a thing that you need to do if you're not born into the industry.
Yeah,
by having parents in it, family in
it. I'm sure it helps. And once again, you sound a lot like me. I call myself a very outgoing introvert.
That, I'm definitely an introvert. Yeah.
Yeah, you are my adult contact for the next couple of days. Like, I talk to Lainey, and I don't need to talk to anybody else right now. So, I am good. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to my record collection if you don't mind. But it was it's nice to be able to talk to somebody like we talk about King Crimson. Adrian Ballou and I are friendly, so it's nice to
nice.
Somebody brought my name up to him in Florida or something like that. And he stopped. I'm told that he kind of stopped and smiled and said, "Yeah, that guy knows a lot about music." That's
nice.
That's validating, And it's not about me clearly, but I have to stick these anecdotes with it when I can, because the most terrifying moment of my life was when I saw my book on Robert Fripp's reading table, and that was just that's. Wow. I'm just wondering if you experienced anything like that, or if there's something down the pipe. I'm betting somebody's heard you perform.
Not really. I mean, Terry Draper, I ended up connected with of Klaatu. I love Klaatu. Are you familiar?
I am familiar, but not an expert. I need to
Oh,
dig in a little more.
yeah, for
So
sure.
walk us through it. What do you love about it?
Klaatu?
Yeah.
Listen to it and you'll see what I love about it. But yeah, it's sort of like early Genesis, but it's more like I don't want to say approachable, but it's sort of, I mean, people thought that they were the Beatles for a while. They thought that they were secretly the Beatles. I'm trying to think about how to describe them. I mean, it's definitely progressive, but it's its own progressive.
Yeah.
From that era, though. So it has, I want to say their first album might have been late 60s. Definitely that around late 60s, early 70s, I think. Maybe it was even mid 70s, I don't know. But at any rate, yeah, they're really great. One of the hidden gems of progressive rock.
Now you put it out there, so I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
The best music to me is largely undefinable. You know, when I listen to somebody like Thank You Scientist, and people say, "What kind of music is it?" I don't know. It just works. You know, I mean, Bent Knee, for crying out loud. How do you define what Bent Knee does? They go out on
you can only use
rock
adjectives,
tours.
really.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just one more reason why when people say, "Well, I don't like progressive rock," well, could you try this band, please, and just see what happens? And a couple
that's like
of times
saying I don't like to eat at restaurants. Like, there's so many different kinds of food that you can have. I don't like restaurant food.
Yeah, I don't get people. That's a whole one more reason to be an outgoing introvert. I don't understand people, so
they are difficult people.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just a wee bit of a challenge. What about and again, I'm using genres. What about pop music? I like records that are. I don't mind simple records as long as they're not simplistic. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't kowtow to me for better a bit of a better phrase, because Elton John popped up earlier. You know, do you spend a lot of time in that realm, or how do you
Not
find
really. But yeah, I'm of the mind that if it works, it works, and if I like it, I like it. I don't really. If something appeals to me, I don't feel weird if it's a genre that I feel ideologically opposed to otherwise, which I suppose you could say I feel that way about pop. In terms of just like, a lot of the time what's popular will just sort of elude me. I'll be like, why do people like this? I don't get it. And that's me in most, well, in a lot of, there's a lot of things that a lot of people like that I don't understand why they like it. But there's also been, many pop songs that I've been like, yeah, this slaps. Like, this is good. Britney Spears' Toxic, which I feel like, it's just off the top of my head. And I feel like this is a commonly acknowledged, like everyone acknowledges this is a great song. That's a simple song, but it's brilliantly written. And, a good pop song is really well written, and the writing is strong, and that's where it really that's where its teeth are, is the intelligence of the writing, or the effectiveness of the song.
I like to call it Intellepop. It's just
Intellepop.
Yeah.
I've called it like progressive pop sometimes, I think, or art pop.
That
but
works.
When I think of like pop music, that's sort of got that edge to it, that extra quality.
I'm going to give you a band to check out. It's a Philadelphia group called The World is a Beautiful Place, and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die.
Wow, that's a long name.
Yeah, go figure. I can't help you with that part, but the music, they put out a record called Illusory Walls. They were the headliner when I went to see Bent Knee, who were the second group after Gates. And of course, I see Bent Knee and I'm happy. I'm friendly with the guys and gals in the band. And I was kind of, you're almost ready to tune out. Okay, well, I've seen what I came to see. But those guys, I like to call it indie prog pop because it has all of those elements. So that's your homework.
Okay. Check it out.
Check out these bands. I'll send you a link later, because it's just, how does a pop act have a 19-minute song? That doesn't make sense, but it works. It works so incredibly well. And I mean, I put on my Facebook group a couple of times I've thrown them up there, and one time I just said, "Look, guys, I call me crude, but they are just so fucking good," and that's why you need to check these guys out. So that's your homework. So simple, simple, but not simplistic. That kind of works. What else are you into these days, band wise?
Band wise, I haven't been listening to that much music, to be honest. I should listen more, and I always intend to incorporate that more into my day-to-day life, but I haven't really.
That's actually not shocking to me.
No.
Adrian says that he doesn't listen casually very much.
Yeah, I want to. I think you should. I think I should, but
yeah.
Well,
he says he worries that he's going to mimic, whatever it is he hears.
Interesting.
When he writes his own stuff, he works hard to shake the Beatles out of his compositions. He calls it debugging.
That's really interesting.
So I can't play unless I am spurred by something. I may not want to play exactly that. That's a sound I find interesting. So I'm always interested when musicians say they don't listen much because they don't want it to interfere with their process.
I've never had that feeling. I think because my own lens through which I create ends up just warping things and making them sound like me anyway. So I haven't really ever had the experience of somebody saying that thing that you made sounds like just like this other thing. Maybe it's happened once or twice, but yeah, I feel like it's not really, there's too much of the other weird, there's too much mixing together in my brain for it to for me to worry about accidentally reproducing someone else's sound.
A friend of mine called it being the sum of your influences. I hear some of this, I hear some of that, but ultimately it's you. You bring yourself to the table. That makes sense. The stream. I was going somewhere with the stream, and I kind of lost my track. I remember now. This is what happens, kids, when you don't write your questions down. but things flow better. What's your favorite thing about the stream? What do you love? What do you love the most?
Favorite thing about the stream. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to pull any one thing apart from another thing because it's such a holistic thing at this point. I think I'm really happy right now with the fact that I've gotten to a point in my skills with just using broadcast software and creating graphics and stuff and manipulating them, and I've started doing some visual experimentation with glitchy sort of feedback and effects and stuff with the visuals. So I'm mixing the music while I'm writing it, and I'm also mixing the visuals a bit and programming things, and I'm getting to a point where I can have a vision for the stream and sort of work toward that. I mean, it's sort of the vision is coming together slowly, the whole being in space thing and the whole backstory of I'm a pilot in space and I'm sort of just a gig worker. It's just sort of a shitty job working for a company called Amazon, delivering stuff to their space stations, and it's not glamorous at all. It's just a crappy day job because musicians don't really have jobs anymore since this AI music generator called Melody came out.
Huh.
So all I can do is improvise music because of all these copyright laws and stuff in space, and that's what I do during while I'm making deliveries and stuff. So that's sort of come together organically, sort of I did one stream where I was I'll be in space this stream, and then I was oh, this is kind of cool, let me keep building on it. And then I started building the story slowly, and it started coming together. And then I'm learning how to create visuals and finding more and more tools to create them quickly. And yeah, it's sort of coming together as a whole suite of skill sets that are all working toward the common goal, the vision of the stream, to realize it I would with an album. Heterotopia was, there was a lot of research and a lot of time spent, figuring out the vision before it could even be implemented. And skills to implement it were like honed and stuff. So I feel like I'm getting to a point now where I'm like, I'm getting good at this. I'm getting to a place where I can think of something, I can have an idea, and I'll be like, all right, I know how to do that. I know a way to do that. And then I can do it for the next stream or whatever. So
nice. So there's definitely enthusiasm for going forward with this kind of thing.
Yeah, this is what I do now. And I'm making money, which is weird. I never made money really. Like, I mean, when I, running Schooltree and stuff, I got a couple of grants that funded a lot of stuff. And like, so there were good years where there was money, and there were years where there wasn't, years where we had a release, so we would have some money coming in. But it was always sort of, there was money, sometimes there wasn't. And now, with Twitch, there's like regular money coming in. It's kind of like a real job, which I didn't really like necessarily plan on, but yeah, so it's amazing for me to have like both something that feels like, creatively true to myself. I don't feel like I'm compromising anything other than giving Twitch half of my earnings, which sucks. The split, the streamer split is 50-50 with Twitch, which is Amazon, by the way. Yeah, so that's not ideal, but other than that, like, I can do what I want, and I don't have to compromise. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have bookers to impress or have a relationship with or suck up to, and I don't have gatekeepers, that I have to maintain a relationship with, even if I think that they're, whatever, they're not my type of people. So there's a lot of stuff that I can just do without any barriers, which is amazing. And I can actually make money. It's weird.
Making money in music, that's something that you don't...
It's not really, it wasn't really in my expectations, certainly.
I was told early on, if you want to make money in the music business, don't be a musician.
Well, no, I mean, that's the truth. It's mining the miners. The whole industry is now built around bilking musicians out of their day job money to offer them whatever success in one form or another.
That's unacceptable, but that's another rant for another day.
Yeah.
Because it's a long rant. When all's said and done, I just want, even with the streaming services, with Spotify and Apple Music and all that, I just want you to be properly compensated for your work. That's my entire goal. I mean, I understand that streaming is a thing of the present now, and this is what people do, and I do it for R&D, that kind of thing, or when I'm writing reviews or what have you. But in the end, I just want to know that there's a little something coming to you, because you put a lot of hours into a song.
Yeah.
and to just give it away for fractions on a cent, every time out, it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, people don't grasp how expensive the gear that you're surrounded by, and I can't even see it, but I know it's there, and I know how pricey that can be, so.
Yeah, it was right next to me.
Yep, that's got to be rough. But again, another rant for another day. Let's talk about something else fun, because you are an avid cyclist. You like to ride the bicycles. What got you started there?
That was another COVID era development for me. It was before COVID. I mean, I live in Massachusetts, where we're famous for our drivers. Among other things.
Sounds like Chicago.
The word masshole is a known term, well earned. So I was always like, I will never ride a bike and put my life in the hands of some asshole behind a wheel. Too dangerous, too scary. And plus I was like, I'm not coordinated enough to ride a bike anyway. And then pandemic times, trapped in our houses, I was like, losing my mind. And the roads were actually pretty clear for a while. There wasn't a lot of traffic. So, my partner was like, this is a good time to get on a bike. So I just started riding. I picked up an old beater, started riding around a parking lot. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. And I'm not as uncoordinated as I thought I was. I grew up being like sort of a sports-hating nerd. So I was like,
you.
Yeah, I hope. Thank you. sports hating nerd. So yeah, I was just never, and I also just kind of assumed I was just not athletic whatsoever. And I'm not naturally that athletic. I have to work really hard at it. But I do work really hard at it. And so I ended up, getting into endurance cycling. My longest ride was 102 miles one day, which, it's a long day. But
How long did that take?
let's see, we left at like 6 a.m. and we got it back around 6 p.m. But we weren't like, riding the whole time. We took a lot of breaks and,
Right.
it was sort of a chill day with a long lunch and stuff. But yeah, it was probably about 8 or 9 hours of pedaling and then a few hours of breaks spaced out.
Still a pretty full day.
Yeah, no, it's a long day. It's definitely like you're on the bike all day, so your butt's got to be conditioned to that seat, or or you're gonna be hurting.
Yeah, hurting for certain. I had to have my saddle changed out on my fat bike quickly. Just like no, I can't.
The right saddle is essential. I tried out like 10 saddles before I found the one, and I did find the one, and I bought one for every bike. So
that makes sense, and that's just like a musical instrument. And that's something else people don't grasp. There's a very intimate relationship between a musician and their instrument. They can't just go play any old thing. So that makes sense. Any racing ambitions in your in your mind, or you're just riding for the sake of riding?
No, I think like my strength, if I can be said to have any on the bike, is endurance. I can go for a while. I'm not very fast. Although I guess I am kind of fast for a woman. Like, I use Strava. Do you use Strava?
I don't. No, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's sort of like a social media site for athletic endeavors. So if you bike, you can track it on Strava, and it'll give you your stats, and it'll post them, and you can like make friends. Whatever. You can add friends, like you would on Instagram or whatever. You can follow other people, they follow you back. See what other people are doing, compare yourself to them. There are leaderboards and stuff. So I am frequently getting like top 10s for women, though. It's like they separate the sexes because we are somewhat disparate in our abilities. Like I ride with dudes mostly, and they're all faster than me. They're all better than me, and they're all older than me too. So that's fun. But
that's got to push you a little bit anyway.
It does push me, and that's probably part of why I get like whatever Strava awards or whatever. Top 10 is not that big a deal, but every now and then you get like Queen of the Mountain, which for men it's King of the Mountain, but it's like you're the fastest person on that segment to ever do that segment, which is cool. When I see that, I'm like, oh, all right.
I'm going to object a little bit, because top 10 among all the people that ride bicycles in this world, that's pretty doggone good.
Oh, well, it's among all the people that use Strava on that segment, so the segment is like a stretch of road or whatever. Right. And like in my case, it's top 10 among women too. So that's like a different group. It's a smaller group. There's fewer women biking. There's fewer women using Strava. So it is what it is, but I'll take it. It's very impressive.
You're going to get a compliment from me, and you're going to like it. That's just the way it goes. I'm not familiar with riding in the Northeast. Is it hilly? Is that a lot of it? Or
yeah, it definitely, especially when you get out into Western Mass, it gets quite hilly. It gets like about as hilly as you can encounter, except like maybe like Colorado, and I mean you go out into the mountains, and that's incomprehensible. But yeah, it's hilly. And hills are tough. You can find some good ones around here. Yeah,
I believe it. God bless Chicago and the lakefront trails. Flat.
Nice. I love a flat ride.
I gotta switch to a road bike, or at least a hybrid, just so I can. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Navy Pier is 6.8 miles that way, so just getting there and getting back for me would be a nice start. But you can ride the lakefront trails. I want to say almost to Wisconsin.
Yeah. Are you still riding that fat bike?
I am, for right now.
That's a heavy bike. That's a lot of bike to drag around.
It is. It really is, and I think that's what led to the great heat exhaustion incident. But we'll
yeah.
and I didn't factor that in, because in my head I'm still, 30 odd years old, and my body's like, "How the hell you are? No, you are not, sir." So you're gonna have to deal with that. But yeah, I'd like to switch that up. I got the fat bike because I one of the kids I trained at the police department rode professionally for Red Bull in New York.
Hmm.
And his thought process was, "Oh, it's going to be snowy. It's going to, you want to be able to ride through the snow and all that good stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, great idea, but eh."
Well, it's only snowy part of the year, and the rest of the year you don't need all that bike.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. And also you can have like, some of the benefits of a fat bike on like a mountain bike or a hybrid bike, even with the right kind of tires. You can have tires that you switch out for different times of year. You can have like more roady tires that'll be faster, less rolling resistance and stuff for summertime. Just a lighter bike, I think you would enjoy, zip around, or you don't even have to go fast. It's just like less energy to get around.
Just knowing I can get somewhere without, grinding my legs to no end.
Yeah.
Because the more I think about it, like, I'm almost 60 years old. I'm not going to go riding in snow and what have you. Because if I fall, that's bad.
Yeah.
that doesn't work at all. What's your ultimate goal, do you think, or have you achieved it with the 102-mile ride? What do you want to do?
I mean, I've tried to have goals every year. This year, I have to say, like, I don't feel like I crushed it. Although we do have a ride plan this upcoming weekend. We're doing like our first overnighter. So we're doing, it's called the Northern Rail Trail. I think it's in New Hampshire. So we're starting at one end of the trail. It's about 60 miles to the other end. So we're doing 60 miles one day, staying at a hotel, doing 60 miles the next day back. So yeah, and it's gravel. So riding gravel, I think it's going to be like easy gravel, but you never know. Sometimes gravel is like you're riding over rocks and roots and it gets a little technical. It takes more energy. It takes more strength in your legs to get over stuff. And there's, a lot more rolling resistance. So you're not going to just be like zipping across those 60 miles necessarily. And it looks like it's going to rain. So that kind of sucks in gravel, especially we're going to get muddy and gross. But this will be my first, like, doing essentially, 2 longer rides back to back, one day after the other. So that'll be interesting, at least to see. But yeah, I mean, in general, my goals are to get better at hills and to get faster and to go longer, and just keep up with the people I ride with, because it's always I'm rarely the fastest one or the best one.
But you're there. You've got the endurance, and
I can keep up.
Yeah. If you ever decide to ride in Chicago, let me know so I can train first.
Okay.
It's going to take some effort for me to keep up with you. Because I don't think I'm going to be in the top million, but that's
we'll get you a lighter bike, and then you'll have a chance, a fighting chance.
Maybe so. I'm going to let you off the hook with this because you are sitting in the captain's chair, and we do love the Star Trek.
Yes.
Which is your favorite series?
Which track? That's always the question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a tie.
They're all great. Let's be clear about that. They're all great, but which
they're
ones
all great. Well,
which ones?
So my first Trek was Next Generation, and that's like my childhood. Like plays close to my heart, Next Gen. But
oh yeah, good place to start.
I think Voyager is underrated.
Won't argue with
Deep
that.
Space. What?
I say I won't argue with that.
Yeah. Voyager is awesome. There's so many great episodes. Janeway is what she is, but and
it's Katharine Hepburn in the captain's chair.
Yeah. There's definitely, like, I think the first episode where I was like, I actually like Janeway was when I can't remember why there were 2 Janeways, but she's like interacting with herself and it gets kind of flirty, and I was like, yeah, I'd watch that show.
Yeah.
Janeway on Janeway. And then I think Deep Space Nine is not overrated. So Deep Space Nine everyone loves and many people say is the best, and I don't disagree. Deep Space Nine is amazing, untouchable. Really, really good. And then I haven't seen any of the ones made in recent years because they're all behind a paywall.
I was just about to ask about that, and I would say break through that wall. And
Yeah.
lower decks is hilarious. I mean, just fantastic. Strange New
Mm.
Worlds is probably my favorite, and Picard is up there. The third season of Picard was just incredible. I mean,
Wow.
it was a 10-hour movie, is what it boiled down to.
Wow. I've heard the first two seasons are a slog.
They are, they can be difficult. And it's
Yeah.
not like it's bad. It's just not quite what we were used to. You know, the story gets where it's going eventually. But the second season wasn't that bad. And I'm not as nitpicky as a lot of fans. If I can eat my popcorn and enjoy myself for an hour, I'm good. I don't have to sit up here and take everything apart and go, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But that being said, the third season of Picard is probably, to me, and best is subjective. The third season of Picard is probably the best new Trek that I saw out there. It's just incredible.
All right.
And I always wanted to be Will Riker when I grew up. He's my kind of boss, but he's my kind of boss. Though Christopher Pike is an amazing captain. I love him because
Pike.
He's authoritative, but he's also really self-deprecating.
Which series is Pike captain in?
Strange New Worlds.
Okay. I remember him from original series.
Yeah,
briefly.
Yeah, I mean the original series I did that was all well and good, but he appeared in the second season of Discovery, which that's the most difficult one. Is Discovery?
Really? Okay.
There's just watch it, and we'll discuss it some other day. And we can, I can go into. It's one of those things where by the fourth season I was watching out of loyalty more than anticipation. There's a Star Trek on. Yeah, I guess I gotta go.
Yeah. I know. Well, I'm heavily invested in the franchise too, so yeah. Just need to get. What is it? Paramount Plus.
Yeah. It's worth the effort. Just trust me on that. I haven't lied to you all day, so we'll be good there.
I'm gonna have to trust you on that one.
Hey, I used to testify in court all the time, so it's under control.
So nothing but honesty.
Yeah, it'll be okay. But Pike and then Riker and then Cisco, I think, would be the captains I would want to work for. And there's nothing wrong with Janeway. Janeway is great, and of course Picard is wonderful. Kirk, all that good stuff. But that would probably those people I relate to the most. And I'll tell you. Yeah, I feel like
Picard is like my ideal leader, like in terms of Plato and all. Like in terms of his like ideological.
I will say Picard made me want to be smarter because he would mention the fall of the Roman Empire, Visigoths coming over the Seventh Hill. I'm like, okay, I need to go read that. Or Shakespeare. And I'm like, okay, I need to go read that because
I think for me it's his sense of justice, his fairness, his diplomacy.
Yeah.
Those are all the qualities you want in a leader.
Right. I definitely got my diplomacy from him. Because if policing for a quarter of a century teaches you anything, it's got to be diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
You can lose your patience with people really quickly. But sometimes I just kind of sit back and I'll actually sit there and listen to them like this, and just let them get it out. Go ahead and say what you got to say. And in the end, it works itself out. But definitely watch Strange New Worlds. Just trust me on this. It's
okay.
You'll enjoy that, and definitely go ahead and watch Picard. I'm going to endorse it. I'm going to give it the B+ endorsement. Whereas the third season is definitely an A+. So it all kind of averages itself out. Strange New World is a solid A, and I'm really upset because of the actors' strike now.
And I'm
sitting here thinking, when are they coming back? Because
but workers' rights are the most important thing.
Yeah, you got to get paid. You got to get paid. If it's going to be for musicians, it's going to be for actors and screenwriters and all that other good stuff too, because that's another mild ambition of mine. I have 3 seasons worth of a TV show in my head that I need to. I'll tell you about it off the air. but that's something I'd like to spit out, for lack of a better phrase. Where will we find you other than Twitch? And I'll let you promote yourself here, whatever you want to talk about, and then I'll officially let you off the hook.
You can find me on Twitch. That's pretty much it.
Okay then.
So Twitch, LAINEY SCHOOLTREE TV.
And I wouldn't know about your Twitch without your Facebook page there.
That's true. So I use Instagram to promote my Twitch, and then sometimes I just post about whatever, my personal stuff. On Instagram, I'm Meow Royale, but you can just look up my name. You'll find me on Instagram, LAINEY SCHOOLTREE.
That works.
And then Facebook is just sort of like, I use it because a lot of people I know are on there, but it's terrible, as we all know.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Or as my daughter just calls it, that's for old people.
Yeah, it's been for old people for a really long time. So at this point, we're ancient.
Yeah, speak for me. I don't see you as ancient. So sorry. I'm ancient. You're still youthful and vibrant. You'll be okay. Well, LAINEY, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with me.
Sure, yeah, it's been a pleasure.
This is a fun thing. We'll talk again soon, I hope.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to hear more music from you, and then I will try to find you on Monday and Thursday. So you take care of yourself. And take care of the cat.
Yeah. She stopped yelling at me.
Yeah, well, that's good. We will talk to you soon.
All right.